Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is a preview video of Lost Ark, my first impressions and thoughts on the game, and whether or not I recommend it to those of you who follow the channel. Just first, so we're all on the same page here, this is footage I'm not currently playing, but this is of my character. I recorded it yesterday just to have something in behind while we talk about the game. I also want to let you know I'm not going into any kind of in-depth review of any particular part of the game. There are plenty of guides out there. I don't think I'll be the one. I've actually been watching Darth Microtransaction, who many of you know, of course, from the raid community, and he has some really good videos out there on explaining the gist of some of the endgame content that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I freely suggest that you or highly even suggest that you head over there. I've also been watching Fextra Life, who does Twitch streaming, big time Twitch streamer. There's a group of them, as well as they make a lot of content for a lot of games like Warhammer, like New World, and now of course Lost Ark. Some great content there. Great live watch too. I really appreciate watching him on Twitch. And finally, Riker, who was someone I have followed from the Diablo community. He is now doing content for this as well. He also did content for Wilson, if you remember that game that kind of came out about a year and a half ago, I think. So here we are in the game, and my first impression of this game is I like it. I appreciate the game, but let's talk about the game here. You can see it in the background. First off, there's kind of 3 arcs to the game. I like to call it 3 acts. That's typically a movie thing or a film thing where most from screenplays have 3 acts to them. And there's the setup, there's the conflict, and then there's the resolution, if you want to get into it. But in as far as this goes, as far as this game goes, there's definitely 3 kind of stages to your gameplay. And the first stage is the campaign. I like to call it the storyline, the main storyline. This is getting you from level 1 to level 50. That is your first goal. You are striving to get to, there's 2 marks that you're trying to get to. The first mark is level 50. The second mark is 302 armor score. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but for now, just know that those are kind of 2 of the plateaus that you're trying to hit. This I consider the first act, or the first stage of the game. You're learning about the game. It's teaching you at some point, and it's feeding you the different pieces of the game in stages. So you start with your character, then it talks about armor, then it talks about leveling characters, then it teaches you about gathering resources, and it slowly brings you, hold your hand along so you can learn all the different things, many of which you see I'm flipping through in the footage of the different areas of the game while I'm sailing. Once you get there, once you get to level 50, you get your player pass, or I think power pass, which allows you to make a second level 50 character that automatically brings them to that same level 302 armor score, which is, we'll talk about honing. We can talk about that in a minute. Once you get there, then you alternate into stages 2 and 3. And I feel like stage 2 is your self-improvement. This is where you're really kind of, think of it as the mid-game. You're at 302, you're at level 50, what do you do now? Well, now you're doing everything and anything you can to increase your skills. So you want to get more skill points. You can do that through various ways, such as adventures, quests, building up rapport with certain non-player characters, that sort of thing. You want to build up your equipment power, which is strictly from honing your equipment. You get better equipment, you hone that equipment, you get up to higher in levels, and that builds out your score. That's usually the gate as to content. So if I want to go into a higher level dungeons, typically I have to have done the previous level dungeon, I'll have to have done the quest to unlock it, and thirdly I have to have a skill score I think it's a combat skill score of a certain number, and 302 is kind of where you jump in, but you can get up 5, 6, 8, 900 scores. And then the third act is kind of these end level raids, and some of them mesh together, right? The way you build up and hone is gaining resources from, for example, the Chaos Dungeon. You also get better gear from the Chaos Dungeon, which then you want to hone to to put on your character and get those better skills, and back and forth. Also, PvP is a major aspect of the end game. That's what they call the end game. And of course, you want to get better score, be stronger, so that you can do better in the PvP, and so that you can get better scores. So they do mesh a lot, but I think they're two different things. I believe that going to things such as the Guardian raids, the any boss raids, mainly that's the Guardian dungeons, and of course the Chaos dungeon. There's a Spire, there's a Cube, there's a whole bunch of different things. We're actually heading over to one of them now. We're going to head into the Chaos dungeon because that's such an integral part of this game's gameplay. You see the Cube there. You see the, I don't miss what that's called. Is that a Spire? I don't know. It's a different cool little work your way up tower. And then of course we're going to jump over into the Chaos dungeon. These are very important pieces of that end game. You want to get into them to be able to develop your character, but they're also part of an end game piece because they're the PvE content. So overall, I haven't found myself bored at all. I went from level 1 to 50. The storyline is okay. It's not going to win an Academy Award. It's not that level of, but it is actually somewhat entertaining. One of the things I appreciated the most going through that is the diverse areas and styles of gameplay out there. Each of the continents is very diverse. You see behind me now, the Chaos Dungeon goes through kind of generic mini areas of some of the places that you visit in this game, and this one's kind of feels more like almost like a steampunk. It's a desert landscape. There's a lot of mechanical, there's machinery. It's very machine tech savvy. There's a monorail. There's a ton of very advanced, technological piece. Whereas in Vern, where you spend most of your time in the continent of, I believe, East Vern, it's more of a knight thing. Same with Lutera. Lutera is a very order of knights. Your quest is helping this prince become the king. And very cool there, very similar in style. I feel like it's, if I were to equate it to something, the humans was Lutera, whereas I felt even though in this particular case it's not they aren't elves, but I kind of have that feeling of them. It's a higher, the Vern, that feels more like that the spires and the just the architecture feels more like what a high elf would look like in, for example, Tolkien's version of fantasy. Whereas Lutera is more of the Arthurian, the knights in shining armor. I will also say, as far as graphics go, this is very, very, very Korean. And if you've played Korean MMOs or RPGs before, you know exactly what I mean. I thought immediately, though it does not look the same, I thought immediately of Lineage. It also feels a bit like a Final Fantasy style. So it's not anime, but it doesn't feel like Arthurian either. It feels like it's a South Korean game. It's the men have extra abs. I think they have 12 abs. I think they just rotate them in and out. And the women are all scantily clad. They're all very well proportioned, or one could argue inappropriately proportioned. But it's not really a distracting piece. I mean, one of the things that I think is really important here is that whereas in many games you choose your gender, in this particular case you choose your class and subclass, and those are of a gender. I think there's, if any, there's only like 1 or 2 classes that are both female and male. Most of them, for example, the gunslinger is only female, whereas there's 3 gunner classes that are male archetype, and I'm sure they'll be adding more subclasses to each of those as we move on. The Deathblade, which is the assassin, and I think the other one's a soul catcher or something like that, they're both styles of assassin are all female. So if you want to be an assassin, the class that I chose, you have to play a female character. No big deal, it's not a thing. There are male and female martial artists as well, and I believe that the warrior currently is only male, and that's your paladin class is the most popular. There's a DPS paladin, and then there's a healing paladin or a sustained paladin style. So gender is less of a choice. It's not, and it's very interesting that they did that, but it is not unexpected given the style of game it is. As far as the actual fighting, now this is just showing you a microcosm, what you see behind you. A Chaos Dungeon is just throw as many hordes at you, and all I'm trying to do is group them together for my big AoE spells. Actually, and as far as the Deathblade goes, the Chaos Dungeon solo runs is probably less efficient, because most of my damage, as you would expect from an assassin class, comes from hitting someone in the back. And it's very hard to do that when you're the only person because they're all coming after you. But obviously, I can still do it fairly simple. You can do this with a group. One of the things that I absolutely appreciate about this game is that it doesn't force you into groups. It is an MMO. There's people all over the place. You can join a party in any of these raids. You can auto join. You can choose a group. You can be in a group. You can have friends and your guildmates, that sort of thing. But it never forces you to do that. So far, I have done 100% of this content, and I am a level 50, 1/3 of the way through. I think now I'm currently at 400 and something, 450, 460 maybe on my armor. I think it's on armor score or combat score. I apologize if I get that wrong. But that's where it only just begins, and I think that's what the real draw to this game is that not only do you have this huge breadth of choice, you feel like you're pigeonholed. At the very beginning, you're choosing a class and subclass before you even start the game, and you feel pigeonholed. Like, I almost thought that I would have liked to have played the assassin class for 20 or 25 levels before I had to choose a specialization. But I didn't honestly feel, once I started playing, handicapped because there's so many different ways to play. You get about, I think, 15 skills. You can only put 8 on your bar, so you have to choose which of these skills you want to use. And I actually use a different setup than you see here. This is a setup that I have used. I did save it, but I'm trying a new setup, which is a little more well-rounded setup for all content in the game. This is more of a just full DPS type Deathblade. Probably more worthwhile in PvE content where I can not be the focus of attention. So a group combat thing, whereas the new one I use is actually more of a good solo build where there's a lot of front-facing damage and a lot of mobility so I can quickly move my way around, even more so than this build. Anyway, the customization of these classes and what you can do, though there is definitely meta, especially in PvP as there always is, I really didn't feel pigeonholed. I still don't. And I'm about 50 hours in. The amount of content in the game is another huge plus. There are so many places you can go. There are the main continents, and each continent has a bunch of towns or areas that you go through, maps. And I've, having gone through the main storyline, or most of the main storyline, I still have some to complete. I still have a lot of that to explore as well. Plus, on top of that, there's kind of just a completionist achievements, I call them, within each realm. There are, befriend these NPCs, get their trust level to level 4 or whatever it is, the max level, which is a huge South Asian thing, is having the it's not romance, because you're not necessarily romancing them, but creating an intimate plutonic relationship. I don't know how to explain it. There's also special bosses. There's special mobs. So say there's a 12 mobs within an area that you want to go find one that's got a little indicator above its head, and that's the special mob that you kill. There's so much content in this game. You see there, we finished Echo level 2, which is the North Vern Chaos Dungeon, and you see how I got all the gear I got. It's all rare gear, so I'm not going to switch it. But there's just a ton of things you can do. I can't say it enough. And I absolutely love this style of game. The other thing, and this is what's most important, is you don't get punished for experimentation. And that is something that is not true of a lot of games. A lot of MMOs like to force you down a path. Even games like Diablo and stuff, when you're picking those skill trees, it's kind of permanent. I mean, there are definitely ways to reset. But other than that, this game, there is no permanence. You actually have every ability to play at your own pace, doing whatever it is you want to do, and you don't get penalized for that. And that is amazing to me. And what I mean by that is I have skills that I've chosen, but I have skill points. I have 265, I think, right now. I could go into my skill tree right now, and I could absolutely switch it. So why don't we do that now? We're going to finish up the last half of the thoughts of this. I'm actually going to log into my character, and we're just going to explore that character a bit, and I can show you what I mean by the amount of customization you can do. And definitely we're not going to go in depth in a lot of it. Most of it I don't even have the information to give you, and other than that, I absolutely there's absolutely so much nuance to it. I just want to show you the level you can do. So let's jump into my character live, and I'll be right back. All right, so here we are. I am currently in one of the northern areas of the world. You can see here's the open world. I'm way up here in Shusshire. and that's because we have some. I left some. You get scrolls that have hidden dungeons, which are just little quick mini bosses. And I had a bunch that I just didn't do, so I'm clearing them out of my inventory by going and doing them, which is fun, especially in early levels, because I one-shot bosses. It was good. But here's my boss, and the first thing I will tell you is it takes about 3 or 4 minutes to load, and I'm on the Atan server, Akan server, AKKN, I believe it is. So if you have a guild there and you're watching this, I would love an invite. I'd love to be part of a guild. But I will be going over to the Volktan. I don't even know what the server class names are. But because that's where Darth is, I have one character there, so I have a foot in the door. I'm going to make a class there and quick level it. Take about 10 hours to get to level 50 and play that way on that one. Because I want to be with friends, and obviously the Whale Pod are my friends. So with that out of the way, here's my character here. Now, when we were talking about customization, you see this is the current setup I have. There is so much customization in here. You have, memory chambers, achievements are all purely just, you know what they are. Titles, though, you can earn titles. I'm currently Lionheart. I like that title, but there are so many. You look at it, you can have 2 titles here. You can be the Heartthrob Rebel Madcapper, which is what I actually was for a little while. I can be the Sharp Tamer. I don't know what that means, but I could be it. Or you can have the complete titles. I can be the First Sword of Shanghun. I can be the Ark Inheritor. I can be the Guardian of Lutera, Lionheart, and so on and so forth. So that's all cosmetic, but it's just a cool added feature to the game. You also have these things here, engraving effects, but let's just first go to my roster. This is my current champion. I am equipped item level of level 380. That's what we were talking about. That is your gatekeeper to dungeons. There are 3 pieces. You have to have the level 50, which I am. You have to have the previous level dungeon completed. So if you want to go to level 2, you have to have beaten level 1 at least once. And you have to be a certain combat score. And also, a lot of the times you have to have quests completed to open them up in the first place. So this is what we're trying to increase right now. And this is what I call that second act. I want to get this item level higher. How do I get it higher? Well, there's plenty of different ways to do that, though admittedly I'm probably not in the right region for it. There is honing. As you can see here, for example, I am still just starting on this part of the game. I'm +4, I think in all of them I might be a +5 there, a couple +3s. But this is what your Chaos Dungeons, you're dropping these stones right here. There's the Guardian Stone fragments for your armor. There's the Destruction Stone for your weapon, and then there's the Leap Stone, which is this is how you upgrade your gear. It's used for honing, and then there's one other piece that I think I need that I don't doesn't come to mind. Okay, so you need to be able to put those together. Honing is just upgrading your gear. Now, when I talk about it, doesn't penalize you for trying. I have upgraded this gear. Say I get an epic piece, because that's what you want to do. You want to get epic and then eventually legendary equipment. If I get a legendary piece or an epic piece, I can transfer what I have done so far for honing onto that new piece, which I believe destroys this piece, but that's what you want. I'm not getting penalized for then honing this and then getting it to 8 and then getting a better piece of gear and then needing to switch that out. Secondly, there's engravings that go onto your accessories if you're used to Raid Shadow Legends. Same thing. And then there's the actual engravings, and so those 3 pieces all contribute towards your total player build, and that there's so much customization. The other thing when we talk about not getting pigeonholed or not paying for making choices is these. I can audit these and edit these at any given time. If I decide, you know what, Earth Cleaver's not doing it for me, I can drop that right down to 1 and I can put it right into Headhunt, right? I have that opportunity. Both very good skills, situationally different. And then in there you can choose 3 different things. Push, I think I go weak point detection on this. Should probably have actually just paid attention. But you can absolutely do and at any time. Now, you can leave a comment down below. I have the one gripe on that is I have presets for this, but I don't have presets for here, which means I have to reset my bar every time, which is kind of annoying. I wish I had presets here. I do have presets for for the quick slots for items. So these are, I believe these are instants. So these are bombs. You see a couple different bombs I have. There's the healing potions, which are instant healing. And these are over time, and that's the top row. Some content does not allow you to use top row items. Some content doesn't allow you to use bottom row. That's an important thing to know. But there's so much customization in this. Oh, I got another different sale. I better throw that in there. Give me a chance to use that. There's different coins for different content and different stuff you need to do. There is so much. There is so much in this game you can do. So not only do you have your gear, which you hone and make better, and you have you glyph your or engrave on your on the other artifacts, your rings and your earrings and all that stuff, which further enhances your character. And you have your specializations, which the engraving effects here, which drops of ether and remaining energy, are the ones that I currently have. Not only all that, but you also have two different things. I have my combat level, but I also have my roster level, and a roster level gives you where is it? It's over here, isn't it? Oh, maybe it's here. I'm probably blocking it. When I say there, I mean guides. No, I don't even know where I mean. Oh, roster information. It was right where I thought it was. Under roster, like an idiot. And this gives your entire roster added abilities and scores as you level up your roster. Certain quests give very specific to roster level XP. You have your combat skills, which we looked at. You have your trade skills, which is your mining, your crafting, all that sort of stuff. You have Una's tasks, which are a specific tasks to be able to do. Of course, again, we talk about that item level, right? All these I can do at 250, so I can accept that. Let's do that quest. Why not? There's so much you can do. You have these rapport. It's called rapport. It's your intimate relationships with certain NPCs. I'm not calling them sexually intimate. I'm just calling personal relationships. You build trust with them by doing their quests as well. There's so much you can do in this game. It is so amazing. You also have a stronghold and a lot of stuff there. What I want to say, and I'm going to end at this. We're at 28 minutes. Probably 23 or 24 minutes. Yes, highly recommend playing this game. There's so much to do. I expect that most of you will find it fun. The combat is enjoyable. There's a lot of content to do. If you like just PvP, there's PvP, right? There's deathmatch, there's 3v3, there's team match, there's a bunch of different options. The proving grounds, there's certain islands that are PvP enabled so that you can just run around and do your stuff and try to kill or be killed. There's PvE content. If you just like PvE, though the end game is PvP, there's so much to do in here. Let me show you, for example, this is just this continent, right? And I have finished 35.1 of this continent story. There's the main quest here, right? Which I feel like I still have a bit to go, because I thought, well, I have the Ark, so I don't know if there's more there. But you see, I get these extra items as I fill these, and I have to find collectibles that drop from mobs. There's cooking things here. There's vistas that you have to find. There's 3 dungeons. There's 2 bosses. There's 15 monsters. There's 2 side quest storylines. There's hidden storylines, and of course the rapport, where there's 4 non-player characters in this continent to befriend. That's all just for this continent. And keep in mind, so that's just this continent. So all that happens within these 6 areas. Then there's all these continents. There's North and South Vern, Ramirez, Udia, West Lutera, East Lutera, Rohendel, Yorn, Ramira, and I think I haven't been to a lot of these. Annika, Athene, Arthentine, wow. Curzan. Like, there's so many places to go. Plus, all this stuff here is all stuff to do, and there's stuff within it. And then there's all these small islands when you're actually going through and sailing to just check out their kind of mini quests all over the place. There's so much to do here. I can't imagine you being bored. And the most important thing is, while there is a store and there's reasons to buy stuff, I have not felt compelled to buy a single thing thus far. Though I have bought one thing, and I think it's an absolutely well worthwhile. Does it tell you previous? I don't know if it does. Yeah, so there's a starter pack. These starter packs are usually pretty good, But there's a yeah, and everyone loves buying the crystalline aura because it gives you all these things. Again, you don't need this. You do not need this. The triport fee is free. It's a small silver. It's irrelevant if you have to pay. Same with the ocean liner, 50% off. It's a pain in the ass if you have to pay, but then use your mount and run around, right? All this stuff is nice to have. It's additional into the game, but none of it's needed. So if you don't ever want to pay, but if you only want to pay, maybe this is the thing. I bought the level pack, I think it is. What it does is it gives you, see I have all these crystals here. I bought a pack that at level 30, 40, and 50, it gave you a chunk of these. Those are always amazing value in every game I've ever played in. It's a South Korean staple of their packs. So if you ever see one of those, I don't know what it's called because I already bought it. It was a starter pack of some kind, I think. But that's the only one that I bought, and it's only because I had credit on the Steam. But you don't have to spend. If you don't want to spend, don't spend. But if you do, go ahead. There's also cosmetics. Like, look at this sweet-ass mount. Oh, it doesn't show it. It doesn't let you see it. There's skins, right? So you can skin. Then you can dye your clothes and make yourself look unique and different. And you can buy that for 2,000 of these things, which I believe so that the royal crystals are not cheap, right? So that $12.99 for 1,000, those 2,000, so that's $25. It's a $25 tuxedo. But you can do all that if you want to, and spend you shall. But if you don't, you're not going to be left in the dust. And I think that's the most important thing I found about this game. Anyway, I give it a high support. I give it a very strong play. It's free to play. Give it a try. See what you think. Check me out on one of the 2 servers I'm in. Also, if you have a guild and you're on the Akan server, let me know, because I'd like to have a guild. But most importantly, check it out. Have a good time. Enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Hey, in the comments down below, are you playing Ark? Do you plan on playing Ark? Do you want to see more YouTube content on Ark? I don't know exactly where I'd fit in. I usually try to slide in a lane that other people aren't doing, but we'll see. Maybe I just do me playing. Let me know what you want to see. But most importantly, I want to thank you for checking out the video, making it this far through. I appreciate you guys, and be safe, be kind. And as always, we'll see you in the next video.